Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. If you follow the channel, I just ended the last video about 15 minutes ago talking about putting the floor pans in the Packard. If you're new to the channel, we're putting floor pans in a Packard. Unfortunately, no one makes any floor pans that are a direct fit, so we have to make these fit. Okay, so without getting super technical, these floor pans say they're for a 51 to 56 Packard. These come from C2C Fabrication, which stands for Classic to Current Fabrication. Those guys up there hooked me up with some floor pans. Unfortunately, they do not make any for this car. This is a Packard Cavalier, and the floor pans, they say will fit everything but this car, which now I see why. So here's how this is going to work. You guys can see the floor on that side of the car is pretty rotted out. In the back there too, and under this piece of new sheet metal is rotted out. So I am going to start tracing and trimming these front floor pans until they fit into the car. And I'm not going to get real technical, like I said. I'm just going to start trimming stuff until they fit. Now, as far as tools go, I don't have much here in my little shop at home. I've got an air saw, I have cutoff wheels, I have grinders. I do not have a sheet metal brake, I do not have a sheet metal shear, but I also have a plasma cutter. But trimming these to fit is mainly going to be a cutoff wheel kind of a job. At least that's how I like to do it. I'm pretty good with cutoff wheel. They are noisy, of course, but I think that I can trim these up good and make them fit good. And then once we get into cutting the old floor pans out, we're going to be using the plasma cutter and some other various grinders and stuff like that. So I am going to cue the time lapse. I'm going to start trimming these up and cutting them out. Okay, so what you just saw in the car was me marking where I need to trim the outsides of these panels in order to fit in between the kick panel and the trans tunnel. So all I do is mark where it fits on each side, and then I'll draw a straight line in between the two. Same here, so it'll fit here, draw a straight line, and then I'm going to cut these off with a cutoff wheel. Alright, so we're doing pretty good trimming this one. We've trimmed this edge and this edge. Need to clean up this edge a little bit. But there are some pieces in the kick panel that have little ridges in them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out here and trim out these three, it's going to be notches basically, because I want to keep as much of this as I can. So I don't want to come in here and cut another inch off of it. So I'm going to cut these notches in here real quick and see how it fits. Okay, so we have the front floorboards trimmed and fit. You can see I had to notch this side as well. And then it didn't really fit the tunnel good, so I had to cut out about an inch and then bring it back over to fit the tunnel. The problem is going to be that floorboard, the white there has been replaced before, so of course that's going to have to come out. What I need to do next is actually cut these out. And as far as I can tell, these were a footrest for the rear seat passenger. But we're not going to worry about them anymore because they're in the way, and you can see they're pretty rotten. Anyway, so I'm going to cut these out, and then I'm going to start fitting the sheet metal going further back. I don't want to time lapse you guys to death, so when I get a step further, I'll throw the camera in the car and you guys can see where I'm at. Another concern of mine is on the driver's side. I knew I was going to have to replace the rocker panel. I've never done it before. I've never done floors before, so I'm kind of winging this. But if you look here, the rocker panel's absolutely gone. So I don't know if I should cut it here and here, you can see the B-pillar comes down and it was welded here. If I should just cut that whole section out and replace it before I do the floor, or if I should tack the floor in and then do the rocker panel. Another thing that I have to worry about is, if you guys can see this structure here, this is what the seat bolts to, so I want to keep that. So what I'm going to have to do is scribe a line here and be sure that I leave the support section in while I cut out the rest of the floor. So I'm going to try to strategically plan this and not screw it up. But yeah, I'm going to run to the store real quick and get some liquid energy, and then I'll be back in the shop getting busy. Now for the fun part. I am going to cut these out on both sides, and then we are going to fit the rear panel first, is what I decided, and then they call an under seat panel here, and they are not big enough for this car. They're going to take some trimming, but I want to use, like I said, all of what I have, and then I'll fill in the pieces in between. So let's cut some stuff. Okay, so here's what we're looking like. I've got earplugs in, so I'm sorry if I'm yelling at you guys. So actually not too bad. I don't know why this panel was cut this way, unless there's something in the other cars where there's a high hump here. This part of the floor here is solid, but as you can see on the other side, not so solid. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to order some sheet metal, and I'll replace this section here on this side and fill in here on both sides. Then over there, I'm going to have to replace, oh good, you have a shadow. I'm going to have to replace that section there all the way down there, which is no big deal. And I think what I'm going to do also is I'm going to come and cut this straight so that it's just a little bit more uniform on both sides. And then this piece I'll put an angle to connect the two. But the trans tunnel is good. Back here is good. Even though it's got surface rust on it, I'm going to clean it up and I'll put Pour 15 on it, which converts rust into something that doesn't rust anymore. But this is where we're at right now. So again, back over to the driver's side of the car. You can see what kind of shape the rocker's in. And I think the best plan of action here is going to be to tack the floor in along the tunnel. And then there's a floor brace under here that I'll tack it to. And then I'll leave this edge unwelded. And I'll come in here and cut the rocker out top and bottom. And I'll be able to fit the rocker to the new floorboard, close the door, and make sure that it all fits. I also don't know what that hole is for, so I'm going to have to cut a circle and weld something in there as well. My only guess is this is a transmission service port here, so I'm guessing maybe in other cars it's way over here, which is kind of weird. But yeah, all in all, not too bad. Okay, step number next. I'm actually going to start cutting this floor out, and I'm going to go slow with it. I'm going to cut out little sections at a time, making sure that the braces that are under the floor stay intact. So I'm going to start in the front, well actually right in the middle of the floor, and I'm going to start on this side because I have more material to cut, so if I screw up it's easier to fix. If I start over there, I don't have any point of reference for where the floor pans go because there's so little metal on the floor. So I'm going to start cutting over here and see how it goes. Some kind of rage is taking a hold of me, and I cannot be saved. Some kind of rage, and I don't think I can change my self-destructive ways. Do you follow right, so run into a little bit of an issue. The gentleman that I bought this plasma cutter from had it wired for 110, which is, I guess, okay for cutting really thin sheet metal, but I've got the amperage turned up a little bit, and every once in a while it trips my breaker in the breaker box, which is a 20 amp circuit. So I'm gonna run and wire this thing for 220, which it has the ability to do. I just have to get a plug and a length of wire. So I'm gonna wire that guy for 220. But here's about as far as I got. So I started cutting this section of floor out. There's another brace that runs from here up that I cut out because it was all rotted, but that's where the seat mounts. So I didn't like the seat position originally because it was way forward. So I'm gonna move the seat back and I'll put some more floor bracing in to hold the seat. But the plasma cutter's working really well. I mean, you can see it doesn't do a real clean cut, but you have to come up in here and clean this up anyway. Also, you can see what I did here is I scribed where the floor is gonna go, and I've moved about 1/4 of an inch in, and that's where I made my cut. I haven't, of course, gone up in here yet, but you want the floor to overlap a little bit, and this is still real solid, so it's gonna overlap and actually lay on top. It's gonna make it a lot easier to weld, and then your cut line doesn't have to be 100% perfect either. So I'm gonna call it quits right here for the day. But anyway, the project will continue tomorrow, but I'm gonna end this video now. So be sure that you guys click on the link in the description below. Help me out, buy some high PSI TV merchandise, represent the brand. This is going fairly well, I guess. I had just ordered some sheet metal to fill in those spots that need to be replaced that these floor pans will not. So I'll have that tomorrow, and I'm gonna keep rolling on this. So I'm gonna clean up in the shop. As always, I wanna thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more on the Packard, the floor, and then we're gonna wire this thing. So we will see you guys next time.